The feminine energy is receptivity, which we generally associate to soft. And all men have a feminine energy. Without that feminine energy, if you're hardened, the feminine energy, let's say it's a radar inside of you, is not able to receive. It disconnects you from what's behind and what's in front. So what does your average individual want to do, your average man? Harden themselves, because the world is fucked up. Let's be straight. Genuinely from the bottom of my heart, the world is insane. Everybody's insane. Everybody's in deficit. Everybody acts like they're not in deficit. Everybody's a thief, a conniver. Everybody, the majority, I apologize. Majoritarily, this is what you have. Hustlers, thieves, connivers. Dacoits. How about that? Okay? So you have to now, as a little child, grow up and go into the world where you're not even safe at home. Your mom is probably insane at some level. If you have a father, he's also not necessarily well balanced. You have to, in your own home, you're not safe. Then you go, everywhere you go, you're unsafe. You don't even have the chance to grow. And all you got to do is not protect yourself. I had to survive. What you going to do? Your reflex is to harden yourself. It's just totally normal. I've done it. Everybody does it. Women do it, men do it, and people in between do it. Everybody has to harden themselves. But what's the consequence of hardening yourself? You lose that sensitive aspect. Sensitive doesn't mean when I see a butterfly, I cry. Sensitive means I feel. And a human being, like an animal, the animal feels you. The animal's not going to fucking cry because you're chasing him. If you insult the animal, which I've done, I love insulting. You little idiot, look at you. He doesn't have an emotional breakdown. He doesn't care. But he can feel my energy and responds accordingly. That's a healthy nervous system. It's response-able. You understand? So you lose the capacity to perceive, because human beings are sensitive creatures like all the animals, and you have a greater intelligence that's able to perceive and feel. Now you don't have access to this anymore. So now you have to rely, quote unquote, on your so-called intellect. First you're going to harden yourself, and then you have to use your brain to figure everything out. Everybody's heard the story. Generally when there's like big cataclysmic natural disasters, animals manage not to die. Well, they don't have PhDs, they don't have AI, they don't have computers, they don't have none of that. How the fuck do they know? In other words, they have superior intelligence to human beings. In other words, they're able to survive. They were not there and you were. So what am I saying in a simplified way? Their sensitivity plugs them into a greater intelligence that moves them. They don't need an intellect the way you and me have one to be able to perceive. That's what that's your instinctual, primal intelligence is. Primal intelligence doesn't make you dumb. It makes you intelligent because you can feel. The intellect is a complement, is a tool that you can use, especially in the modern world, to be able to, because you need a form of intelligence to be able to understand money. Yeah, but what guides it? Sense. I can feel. Instinct. But now I have to navigate through this. You have to be able to count. You have to be able to think, to organize yourself. Fine. Yeah, but what's moving me? Instinct. That fundamental power that wants from the seed. It's instinct. I need, I must, I'm growing. Then, because our world is complex, you have your intellect, depending on how capable it is, to organize shit. Yeah, but what's inside? What's underneath? It's moving. It's fluid. It's a sensitive affair. So what does your average guy do? Hardens themselves, meaning they lost. They don't feel neither themselves, what's in back, what's in front, or anything around them for that matter. Then they have to rely on their quote unquote intelligence. And no matter how intelligent you are, I promise you what? A computer's smarter than you. And a computer is going to replace you in every aspect of your life, except one thing: it'll never be able to feel. But the computer is going to replace you. Whatever you think you're doing that is so important, a machine is going to replace you in the next 50 to 100 years. For sure, because the computer is more competent than you at an intellectual level. Because what is a computer if it's not a super intellect? It's a robot, a machine that computes all the variables and assesses the dangers and computes and arrives at the most probable, favorable solution, which is what your so-called intellect is trying to do. Well, a computer is much better than you and can process infinite amount of data. Instantly. You've already lost. So no matter how amazing you think your so-called intellect is, you can't feel fuck all, and it's not able to resolve your problem because you're not connected to any fucking thing that's alive. A computer is dead and your intellect, as far as you're concerned, is also dead. There's no life to it. It doesn't feel. It has no feeling and no actual understanding. And here you are, finding refuge in it to shelter yourself from your sensitivity because it's overwhelming. You can't handle it. I respect that. I understand that. That's not a criticism. It's a fact. It's overwhelming. What you feel is overwhelming. So you've numbed yourself. You've numbed yourself since even in utero, you've numbed yourself. Because mommy's intensity and her unbalance was so intense that even as a little thing growing, you had to numb yourself. You had to like tense yourself up in order to mitigate the intensity of what you're feeling. Just to survive in utero. Let alone when you're a sperm and daddy. So I understand this. All I'm trying to say is that no matter how intelligent you are, you're never intelligent enough. You need to feel. You're unable to perceive. You're like a fucking robot, but you suck. And those of you who are better at being robots, you ain't got no feeling. And y'all know exactly how it is. When you're with a woman, what does she want? A feeling man. I didn't say weak. I said a feeling man. I can feel her. For the love of God, there's a person there. I can feel her. I can feel her, her being, her emotions, her status of mind, her anguish, her anxiety, her desires, her potential, what she aspires to. I can feel her. I'm not just like a fucking frozen thing that just wants to use her to masturbate. Right. Because that's what a man is, right? Anyways, man, so in my humble opinion, and this is going to remain my humble opinion, but as a man, it's your responsibility to reclaim your manhood, your full manhood, and your full manhood means you need to go back to the heart of yourself. And that's not being weak, that's your strength. That don't mean I cry when I'm with a girl. No, that means I'm sensitive to myself. I feel myself. If I have a weakness, I feel it. If I have a strength, I feel it. If something's out of balance, I feel it. If something's happening around me, I feel it. My sensitivity connects me to a greater grid that is far beyond what my so-called intellect can understand now. It connects me to something greater than here because that's the nervous system's capacity. When I'm engaging with a woman, I can feel. Then you can dress it up the way you want. Feeling doesn't make you weak, it makes you strong. It makes you intelligent in a different kind of way, in a more powerful kind of way, because you know. You see the difference? The intellect never knows. You can know because you have access to the knowledge directly. You don't have to go through the filter of the intellect that translates it. And maybe it's going to translate it wrong according to its moods or what fucking apps you plugged into it. So then it can give you an output. Yeah, but who says it's right? You can have direct access to the knowledge through feeling. Knowledge is a power stream, isn't it? You just plug yourself into it via your nervous system. Then the intellect can interpret it the way it feels like. It's irrelevant. I know. You see the difference? I know versus my intellect knows. Or believes it knows. How the fuck do you know? Anyways, this is a little more profound for some people, but your average individual today is like frozen. Average guy is a frozen thing. And underneath his frozenness, it's a broken child. And what that broken child is trying to do is survive, respect. And it's doing this by hardening himself and by taking on certain behaviors that child was shown that gives result. Result meaning you get people think you're powerful, which means you're safe. People think you're powerful, therefore you have access to resources and women. Yeah, but on the inside, I don't care how many women you have. It's irrelevant. Like I said, what kind of woman is there? What kind of woman wants to be with a man who rapes the shit out of her? Like, what kind of person is so insensitive to herself that she accepts that you treat her, I'm talking about the way you have sex with her, so like carelessly? You know how fucking sensitive a woman's uterus is? You know, if I gave you a bag of eggs and I say, run with them eggs, are you not going to be careful? You know what lives in her? Eggs. And here you are ramming in her. Like it's not sensitive. It's so fucking sensitive. It's precious. So what kind of girl accepts to be treated this way? Somebody who has no regard to herself. also a person who's completely numb, desperately seeking for some kind of like something to break through so that she can have a temporary moment of feeling herself. And she's going to have, if you're lucky, a temporary moment of herself, and then she's going to hate herself and feel disgust and guilt because look at what she's just put herself through to have a tiny experience of herself, which is so tiny it almost doesn't count. Like you're thirsty, is a drop of water going to do it for you? So this is the kind of world we're living in, and here you are as a man. You pretend to be the smarter one of the two sexes. You pretend to be the problem solver, which is your nature. You're there to solve problem. Well, how are you going to solve problem if you're not able to even properly assess it? That's my question to you. How can you solve the problem when you're not able to properly assess it? Because you don't have the fortitude to look with. You have to like lift the hood up. It's not hard. It's not deep. It's just lifting the hood up. Look, to understand how the engine works. Is that deep? It's right there, if you look. But you have to open the hood. You have to care. No, the car is not running, but let's pretend it's running, and let's have a bunch of fools pull the car forward while I pretend that I'm the man and my car is optimally functional. Really? And what kind of moron woman would enter into a car like this? And you really think you can trick a woman like she can't see? She can't sense? She's going to go in the car and use you. Of course she is. And use the whatever's pulling you forward. Anyways, all of this is food for thought. Do consider it. I would appreciate it. It made me happy. How about that? Do consider all of this. There's more to life than meets the eye. And obviously, if you don't want to see it because it intimidates you, I respect that, but it's still there and doesn't change the fact that it's controlling your destiny and your life. So at what point are you going to stop being a moron and pretending you're Drake? And how can you beat Drake? Let's be straight. He's the best. If you had any respect for people's successes, you'd be like, how can I beat Drake? If Drake's doing Drake, I can't beat Drake. So I got to find something else where I can achieve the greatness I want. Well, it's not going to be by being Drake that I'm going to achieve greatness. Because he's doing Drake. Who the fuck are you doing? Anyways.